Hi everyone, my name is Katie Wilson and I'm going to be giving you a quick speech on the fundamentals of speech. Okay, so there are four types of communication. There is intrapersonal, and this is communicating within yourself. So a lot of times we do this when we mentally review or rehearse conversations or experiences. There's interpersonal, and this is communicating with another person. There's small group, and this is communicating with 3 to 20 people who have a common goal. Ideally, this is about 5 to 8 people. And then lastly, there's public, and this is communicating with a large audience. The perceptual process, there are 3 steps. There is selection, organization, and interpretation. So the first step, your mind decides which of the numerous distractions are worth recognizing. So we have so much stimuli around us that if we acknowledged all of the sensory stimuli, we would become very overwhelmed. So perception helps us sort through the external stimuli for relevance. The next step is organization, and this is when your brain organizes the stimuli you receive by grouping them in meaningful ways. We organize messages by comparing them with the information that we have from past experiences. And lastly, there's interpretation. When you interpret what you sense, you assign meaning to it. 2 people can witness the exact same event and perceive it differently and assign meaning to it differently, and selective attention plays a role here. So next we're going to talk about symbols. So all words are symbols. We choose a word to represent an object or concept and then send the word across a channel to somebody else. So symbols can either be arbitrary or ambiguous. Arbitrary means that there's no innate connection between an object or thought and the word we use to represent it. So an example of this would be how every different language has a different word or symbol for the word garden. However, each tangible symbol means the same thing, which is that it's a place for something to grow. Ambiguous is the meanings that are in people and not in words. Each communicator decides what certain phrases mean. So if I was to say that building over there is really tall, to us, we might think, oh, it's 15 stories high. But to someone who comes from a big city like New York, they might automatically see an 80-story building. Paralanguage. This refers to vocal techniques used to emphasize and give meanings to words. The same sentence can sound angry, happy, romantic, or indifferent just by altering our paralanguage. And this is done through projection, pitch, rate, and pauses to the meaning of words you use. And this also influences the way receivers interpret your message. So for instance, if I say the phrase, I'm so glad that you made it. If I say it in a happy tone, like, I'm so happy you made it today, it would mean that the receiver message would be that it was happy. However, if I say it like if they were late and I was like, oh, glad you could make it today, it sounds more indifferent. So the feedback styles, there are 6 different feedback styles. There's judgmental, there's questioning, there's directive, empathetic, interpreting, and active. So judgmental, this means a listener makes a judgment about both the content and the speaker. Questioning, the listener asks probing questions of the speaker that are not necessarily supportive questions. Directive, this means a listener tells the speaker what to do. Empathetic, listener gives the speaker some form of emotional support. Interpreting, the listener tries to offer another explanation of what happened. And then lastly, there's active, and the listener offers supportive questions that make it clear that he or she is willing to listen. Conflict resolution styles, there are 5 conflict resolution styles. The potential for conflict exists at any time we're communicating with someone, so you should have all 5 of these styles in your repertoire in order to select the appropriate style for any given disagreement. So first, there's competing. This is effective when you truly believe in something or it's a crisis situation where the conflict needs to be resolved immediately. There's avoiding. And this is when people walk away from conflict. This is only useful when there's a threat of abuse, so verbal or physical, either to you or from you. If abuse is not a factor, this is the least preferred because the conflict doesn't ever get resolved. Next, there's accommodating, and this is when people give in to somebody else in order to promote harmony within the relationship. And this occurs when people are either afraid of conflict, they don't want to voice their opinion or are afraid to voice their opinion, or they're so easygoing that they don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. Compromising, and this is when two people give in slightly, and this works well in situations where there's no other resolution. And then there's collaborating, and this is when people work together through the problem solving process in order to come to a resolution. And then this style is best when each person feels they need to have a say or a hand in resolving the issue. So your thesis statement. Your thesis is the central idea of your speech. You write it so you know what the main points of your speech will be, and it's an extension of the specific goal statement. So this could clarify what 3 items you are going to discuss. So an example of a thesis statement would be the 3 different drugs used to fight depression are Prozac, Zoloft, and Paxil. This automatically lets your audience know what you're going to be talking about and your 3 main points. Supporting material. This is the information you use to convey a point. So your expert opinion can come from local source or national publications, and this boosts your credibility. Facts is the information that is known to be true, such as dates, titles, numbers, or names. Statistics is the descriptive use of numbers, and this allows your audience to assign meaning to those numbers. Definitions are explanations of a word, phrase, or concept. And then lastly, examples are phrases or stories used to describe, illustrate, or explain a concept. There are 4 types of delivery styles. There's impromptu, so speaking with no preparation at all, and that would be if a teacher called on you to answer a question in class or when you're in an interview. A manuscript is reading from a written paper, and this is what the president used when he reads off of a teleprompter in order to make sure that every planned word is delivered appropriately. There's memorized, and that is when a speech is written out and committed to memory. The only issue with this is it can often sound very scripted, and it takes away from the natural vocal variety in your tone while you're speaking. There's extemporaneous, and that's using key words and phrases to promote a conversational style. And this is the preferred style of delivery for most speaking situations. So types of persuasive messages, there's convincing, reinforcing, and to actuate. So convincing, you target the audience's attitudes, beliefs, and values, and the goal is to change their mind. So the audience either disagrees with whatever you're trying to persuade them to, or they are neutral. To reinforce is strengthening the audience's convictions on the topic or reinforcing their motivation to continue doing the action. And this also targets the audience's attitudes, beliefs, and values. You're just reinforcing that behavior. Actuate is a message is for people who are not doing an action that you want them to do. So this is best used for listeners who are not hostile towards your topic. So reasonable goals of persuasion. So you want to choose a topic that is not a national debate. You want to choose a topic that's not a national campaign. You want to choose a topic that you have a personal connection to because this allows for your audience to feel your passion. You want to choose a topic that is easy for the audience to comprehend and do. You also want to choose a topic that most people don't do because they don't know about it. So this will help you in persuading them to do it. And then the lastly is choose a topic that can be phrased as positive. So tips for interviewing. You want to spend time preparing for the interview. Make a great first impression with both your delivery and your questions and your answers, and also in the way that your physical appearance looks. You want to be able to answer questions effectively. Be prepared for phone and Skype interviews. In this day and age, we have so much technology. This is very common for employers to do a phone interview or a Skype interview prior to interviewing you in person. Be prepared for stress interviews and communicate effectively after the interview. I think this is one of the most important tips I have found in my past experience with interviewing, that thanking the person that's interviewing you for their time and their opportunity to interview goes a long way. Styles of leadership. There are 5 different styles of leadership. The first one is authoritarian, and this type of leader tells people what to do. They don't ask questions, they don't want input, and they make all the decisions and they expect people to follow their orders. Laissez-faire is the laid-back kind of leader. They're more hands-off and they let the group do as they please, and they are not involved much in decision making. There's democratic, and that is characterized by their ability to solicit and synthesize ideas. They attend to people's needs and they keep the group on task. There's transactional, and that involves exchanging rewards for desirable outcomes. The leader will tell you exactly what needs to be done and they reward you for doing it. And then lastly, there's transformational, and this type of leader empowers you and inspires you and creates more than just a mere exchange. And that is all. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. I hope you learned something. Thank you for your time.